If you're running meta ads in 2025 and still struggling to make a profit, it's probably not your product, it's your setup, and most people and most brands are still doing it wrong. Let's get one thing straight, meta ads are evolving every single day, every single month, things change, and you need to know how to structure your campaigns, creative and targeting properly so you can scale your ecom brand into 7, 8, even 9 figures. But 90% of brands mess this up from the start. I'm Adam Taylor and I run Media Engineered, where we help meta advertisers scale by pinpointing the exact hooks, messaging and angles that convert their customers, and then scale these with proven formats. And this is how we help brands grow from over 7 figures in monthly revenue. And today I'll walk you through the exact meta setup that we use at Media Engineered to manage over $3 million per month in ad spend for our clients. The first section is account infrastructure. This is your meta business foundation. So this is really important because your business manager setup controls everything: data, tracking, roles, safety. If you don't set this up right, then you could have limited spend, account bans, poor tracking, and overall you're creating poor foundations, which means it's going to be very difficult to scale. Now, I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do in step-by-step order. First of all, you need to go to business.facebook.com, create your business manager ID, your business manager account if you don't already have one. It should be pretty straightforward. It's guided on there, so it's very easy to do. Once you've done that, you add a domain, you create your ad account and payment method. Now make sure you add a payment method. I'll get on to exactly why later on in this video, but it's super important to have backup payment methods. Assign admin roles, so if you have anyone on your team you need to add, just do it now whilst you're doing setup because it'll save you a headache later on. Then you need to set up your Meta Pixel and Conversions API. Now inside Meta, you'll be able to see the dashboard where you go to data sources and create a pixel. It's very straightforward now. You can integrate this with Shopify, Webflow, whatever kind of platform that you're using. You can integrate your pixel very easily and it shows you exactly how to do it. Now you do want to add Conversions API if possible because this makes it more accurate when you are tracking data. Conversions API is much more accurate than just the Meta Pixel alone. Now finally, you want to connect your page and Instagram. So that's it for setting up your business manager and ad account. It's very straightforward and Meta now takes you through it step by step. But make sure you use that checklist on screen right now. And whilst you're doing this, I've got a pro tip for you. Always verify your domain and prioritize your conversion events before launching, because without it, Meta can't optimize properly and you won't even know what's broken until the money's gone. If you don't pay attention to setting up your account properly, it can bite you in the back later down the line. So we had a client doing over $3 million per month in revenue get restricted because of this. So you want to know the number one reason for Meta restricting accounts? It's payment and billing issues. So here's why it happens. 1, Meta flags payments, unusual spend spikes, or prepaid cards. 2 is too many failed payments. So in ad accounts, this will put your account at risk, bad standing in Facebook's eyes. And 3 is scaling too fast on a new ad account with 0 spend history. So if you want to avoid your ad account getting banned, here's 3 things that you can do to mitigate the risk. So first of all, use Meta-friendly banks, Brex, Mercury, Capital on tap. Add a backup payment method, so have card and PayPal. Like I mentioned earlier, very important to have a backup payment method. And don't scale spend too aggressively on a new account, 20-30% daily. So we've seen this happen so many times in the past. People make a new account and straight away start scaling, and this will get you restricted. And once you're restricted, it's very hard to get your account back in positive standing. So now your account's set up and protected, most brands can still mess things up after this because it's campaign structure. So if you get this wrong, Meta can't learn, your creative won't scale, and you'll waste budgets with nothing to spend for it. So now your account's set up and protected. But here's where most brands mess up next: campaign structure. If you get this wrong, Meta can't learn, your creative won't scale, and you'll waste budget with nothing to show for it. So in the next section, I'll show you exactly how to structure your campaigns the way we do for clients spending 1K to 30K per day. Section 2 is campaign structure, how to set up your campaigns for success. Now this is super important because the wrong campaign structure tanks data and completely muddies your learning. You need a clean campaign setup so you can learn quickly, clearly, and spend as efficiently as possible. So what to do? I'm just going to make my little icon a little bit smaller here, but the approach that you take completely depends on your current situation. If you're spending over 30K per month with a consistent flow of creatives, and you need a way to test and validate them, then scale winners. If you're spending less than this without a consistent flow of creatives, your focus needs to be on risk mitigation. You don't have a huge budget, Every dollar that you spend needs to count. You can't be wasting hundreds and hundreds of dollars on creative testing because you just can't at this stage in your journey. Now, the benefit of running a creative agency like myself is that I get to see into the ad account of hundreds of brands and see exactly what structures they're running. Now, I'm going to give you the most common ad account structures that I see, and you can choose which one fits you best. Later on, I'm going to recommend you one, but here's some examples. So you can have ABO testing and CBO scaling. This is very simple. This used to be the best structure back in the day, but now things are changing a little bit with the AI in Meta. Now you see some brands running one CBO per business objective. So this is testing creative concepts in ad sets within one CBO. Now you can add minimum spends on the tested ad sets and then have winning ad sets within. So for example, if you've got one product, you'd have one CBO, tested ad sets within there. You can add a minimum spend to these ad sets if needed to make sure that these ads pick up some spend and get some data. And then finally, if you see winners and you want to scale them further, you can create a winning ad set within that CBO. So that's something that we're seeing. Now we're also seeing CBO testing campaign and then Advantage Shopping Plus or CBO to scale the winners. Now you can see there's one common theme with all of these, and it's having a testing campaign, a way to actually test your creatives effectively. So whether it's a testing campaign or a testing ad set, you just need to have a way to test creatives, validate them before scaling them. And sometimes a pro tip for you here is your testing campaign or your testing ad set, just because it's called testing doesn't mean you turn it off once you've validated winning creatives. This will probably end up being your highest spending campaign or ad set, because once you see it gets results, you continue scaling it. So don't let the name throw you off. Now, no matter what spend level you're at, there are some fundamentals that apply to everyone. Now, the first one is simplicity is key. Make sure that it's really simple inside your ad account, that you can see what's going on. You don't have loads of campaigns. It's just super straightforward for you to be able to see what's working, see what's not working. So whether it's clear naming conventions, whether it's a simple campaign structure, but the more complex it gets, the harder it is for you to be able to learn inside the ad account. So second is pick sales as your objective. It's super straightforward, but I still see so many brands making this mistake. And third is set a budget you can afford to lose. So budget to lose all the money during testing, and you'll only be given a good surprise when you don't lose all the money. And then fourth is consistent testing. So when you have creatives coming into the account, you need a way to test these consistently. The same thing. So same thing applies. You need a creative coming in, you need to be able to test them. You need to be able to see it clearly. Obviously, your objective is sales, and you need to be able to lose a budget, because you can't be emotional inside the ad account and turning ads off straight away, not getting enough data. You need to be able to sit and watch your budget essentially burn whilst you get some learnings to be able to scale in the future. So guys, I've just opened up a client ad account because I want to show you exactly what's working right now live. We've got access to over 40 different ad accounts, so it's very important for me to be able to see inside what's working right now live inside different ad accounts. Now I've picked this one out at complete random. It's just the last 30 days. I've spent almost 400k at just over 2.2 ROAS. Now in this example right now, they've got an ABO per product. That's all they're doing. So they've got one ABO for one specific product, another ABO for a second product. So very, very simple campaign structure. I didn't even mention this on a previous slide because it's not a very common method, but it's working for these guys. So they've literally got one ABO. They put all of their creatives in there for this specific product. They test it. If it's performing well, they increase the budget. So it's a very, very simple campaign structure. It makes everyone's life easy. And the same for the second product. So they've got another ABO. They put all of their ad creatives in there. Now, per ad set, they're putting creative concepts. So one ad set might be one ad with 5 different hook variations. So in total, 5 ads in an ad set. This goes for statics and videos. And they're doing the same for the second product. And you can see that they're doing this at scale. So this just proves that your account campaign structure doesn't matter too much. So it's not going to be the true driver of results in your account. But what I mentioned earlier, the fundamentals, it's really important that it's clear and easy for you to navigate so you can scale, reduce spend, and see what's working very easily. Now that's what these guys' main priority is, being able to have true visibility into what's working clearly so they can increase budget or decrease budget as efficiently and easily as possible. But even with the perfect campaign structure, it all falls apart if your ad set setup is wrong. So things like audience targeting, placements, conversion events, they might sound basic, but they're the exact reason most brands burn cash and then go ahead and blame the algorithm. So in the next section, I'll show you how we structure ad sets inside 7-figure accounts to maximize efficiency and let Meta actually do its job. Now, section 3 is ad set setup. So get the targeting and the budget settings right. This is the part that most people overcomplicate. They stack interests, they split 20 audiences, exclude buyers from the last 3 years, and then wonder why Meta can't do its thing. But the truth is, targeting doesn't drive performance anymore, creative does. So your job is just to give Meta the best conditions to perform. So here's how we set up our ad sets across almost every single client account that we have. So purchase is a conversion event, as I've already said. In terms of location, you should know what your best performing location is, usually US, UK, Canada, potentially Australia or some European countries. And this just depends on your product you're targeting, and you should know this really. Age and gender, we like to use this open, leave it open, unless your product is very specific, because even if it is quite specific, you can still get the occasional people buying gifts. But if it's very, very gender specific and there's no chance that a man or woman is going to buy that product, it's good to exclude. Targeting, we just use broad, so no interest stacking, no lookalikes to start with. Now exclusions, this can be important if you're looking to scale aggressively and focus on new customer acquisition. So excluding recent purchasers, 30 to 180 days, can be important if you are focusing on just new customers and you don't want any repeat buys, you don't want any retargeting. Now in terms of placements, we usually use Advantage Plus placements. Meta usually optimize where it's going to perform best and put your ad there. And then finally, optimization. So 1-day click or 7-day click, depending on your sales cycle. So with the optimization, we like to go with 1-day click or 7-day click. Now this very much depends on your sales cycle, but we like to underestimate our conversion window because that means that we're going to be doing better than we think. It's better than the other way around, than overestimating how you're performing, making decisions based on that, because things are only going to go downhill from there. And with this, you're not trying to outsmart the algorithm. At this point, that's impossible. You're just trying to feed it enough data so it can start optimizing by itself. So we've seen that the less you touch, the better Meta performs. We've actually improved campaigns just by removing interests and letting creative do the heavy lifting. Now, if you're still not convinced, we once had a client, and this is a real example, who insisted on stacking 5 to even 10 audiences in every single ad set. ROAS was sitting at around 0.8 at the time. Now, we convinced them after a few weeks of working together, it might have even been a month, to test a broad audience with no targeting, using the exact same creative and the same budget, and CPA dropped by 42% in 4 days. Now their entire account runs on broad plus strong creative and excluding previous buyers. Now they're consistently hitting 2 ROAS at 10k per day. This is a true story that happened with one of our clients. Okay, so your account is set, your campaign is structured, your ad sets are clean, but none of that matters if your creatives suck. Unfortunately, most brands already lose at the first 3 seconds of their ad. So in the next section, I'll show you exactly how we come up with creative concepts, structure winning ads, and build a creative system that finds scalable angles fast. So I'm moving on to section 4, which is creative strategy. I'm going to show you why message and market fit is better than just content. So this stage is super important because your creative strategy is the biggest lever in your account by far. But this is where most brands go wrong. When performance drops, their instinct is just to make more content, but not better content. The truth is, you don't need more creative, you need the right creative. Creative that matches your customer language, their problems, and their beliefs. Because this is what actually scales, not just random UGC, and you've probably experienced it in the past, making ads and they don't perform, flashy edits but they don't perform. The only thing you need in your ads is message/market fit, specific to your brand. Now here's how we approach creative at Media Engineered and how you should too. So we don't just pump out ads, we run our creative data system that helps us pinpoint the exact hooks, angles and formats that actually convert, and then scale those insights with high quality, high volume creative. Now here's a simplified version of how we do it. So first of all, audit performance. So identify which angles, hooks and formats are already working. Now I want you to take your time with this and really look at every metric, soft metric, the angles that you're using, the full funnel metrics that we'll get onto later on, and try and figure out why you think this ad performed and why other ads didn't perform, and then you can start reverse engineering your existing ads. Now this is your customers' actual feedback. This is Meta's feedback to your creative, so it's very important that you take this and use it in your ads. Second is customer research. So of course, deep research on your customers' reviews and competitors, using places like Reddit, using other platforms like comments on your Instagram posts. So customer research, deep research on your customers' reviews and competitors. This is super important. We use things like Reddit, organic platforms like TikTok and Instagram. This is where you're going to get great ideas. Third is script properly. So concepts that isolate variables so we can learn fast. 4 is produce at scale. So creators, visuals and statics that align with your core angles. 5th, we have test with structure. So weekly creative tracking by concept and theme. And then finally, scale what works. So expand your top angles with new formats and faces. Now this is a simplified version of how we do it. I'll break down some top tips in a second, but this is how we've helped brands like Icon Amsterdam, Tabs, Wine by Lamborghini, and we've even scaled some brands to 500k, 1 million a month in ad spend without destroying their CPAs. Now I'm about to take you through an ad that worked really well for a client in the past, but before I do that, I want you to completely flip how you look at your creative strategy from chasing CPAs, from chasing ROAS to collecting data. Because first, you need to completely understand your customers. So search Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, comment sections, reviews, post-purchase surveys, and figure out their desires, pain points, and objections. You literally need to be your customer, figure out the language they use and the content that they consume. Then you need to turn this into a targeted creative strategy, targeted specific customers and angles. Everything needs to be really focused on resonating with your target audience. Finally, test your ads in the ad account and treat it as an experiment. Remember, you're collecting data, so you're trying to figure out what resonates with your customer and what doesn't, and then build off this every single round. So now I'm going to show you an ad that performed really well in the past, just to show you an example of what this creative strategy can actually achieve when you follow it correctly. So let's play this and I'll break it down after.
Oh, I'm constantly amazed by this necklace from Kadena Jewelry. Honestly, I'm very picky with my jewelry, but when I saw the necklace that my friend's boyfriend got her, I had to get one myself. I've been through so much jewelry that has just tarnished or lost its crystals that I honestly didn't know what jewelry to buy next until I found this. I have been wearing it for about a month now, and I can definitely say it's spiraling into an obsession for me to buy more. So the necklace doesn't tarnish, and it's made out of 14K gold, 100% waterproof, and has survived all my beach day and my hot showers. I literally haven't taken it off since I got it, and look, it still looks absolutely brand new. So if you guys want to check out Kadena Jewelry, here's the link.
Now, I love this ad and I love it for so many reasons. First of all, we can see the TikTok comment hook. Now, this is a classic that we've been using for years. So replying to a fake question, do you have any suggestions for good jewelry? And our creator is answering this question about the product. So it's very good because it makes it seem authentic from the get-go. And another thing I really like about this ad is that it changes visuals every few seconds, which is super engaging, and it means that someone's actually going to stick around and watch this. And it's not just boring visuals, it's actually visuals of previous failed solutions, which I'll get onto in a second, work not tarnishing in water, trying on an outfit, so it keeps it very engaging. Now, what I just mentioned is previous failed solutions, which is something that she talks about, other jewelry tarnishing, which is a pain point and kind of the angle of this ad. And that's why it kind of works well, because, you know, people are used to their jewelry, getting it off Facebook, getting it off Instagram, and this jewelry actually tarnishing after a few weeks. And then also what we've got is a story to kind of tell him. So I saw the necklace that my friend's boyfriend got her. Now this is an angle that worked really well, and it works well for these kind of jewelry or accessory, luxury apparel brands. So this is a really good ad because it takes you through a journey of storytelling, and then it comes with this product as the solution. So I really like this, definitely think you can take some inspiration from it. But here's the thing, even the best creative doesn't work if you can't test it properly. So most brands throw new ads into the account, look at ROAS the next day, and then shut it down. So in the next section, I'll show you how we systematically test creative so we can tell without guessing what works, what doesn't, and what to scale. Section 5 is launch and early optimization. You want to let Meta learn before you intervene. This is really important because it's where a lot of most brands panic and they start launching new ads, they check the numbers after 24 hours, and they turn things off. But Meta doesn't work like that. It needs time and space to optimize. It needs to see what's working so it can optimize and start delivering to more people who are engaging and purchasing from that specific ad. Therefore, if you don't give your campaigns room to breathe, you'll kill winners before they even get started. Here's what to monitor during the first days of a launch. First is spend distribution. So check how Meta is allocating budget between ad sets. If it's skewing heavily, it's for a reason, and you can take learnings from this. Second, we've got cost per purchase. Don't fixate on day one results. Look for early signs by day 2, 3, 4, 5. That's when you can start to see if it's optimized and going to be a winner. So frequency, this is pretty interesting. I watch it carefully because if you see an ad hitting a high frequency, 2.5 plus, or whatever your account averages, a lot more than that within a few days, it's either fatiguing or you're over allocating spend too early. Now, in terms of delivery, you want to make sure that ads are delivering properly. Because if nothing's spending, it's usually a setup issue, budget's too low, learning limited, creative flagged. Potentially you need to be adding minimum spends to just get those campaigns, those ads getting spend, definitely get some data. Finally, soft metrics. So I'll break down soft metrics later on, but you can monitor them here to spot any potential winners before you've got sales. But I won't put a huge focus on this because it's something you can do. With everything I've said here, you need to take it with a pinch of salt because ultimately all that matters is your CPA, your ROAS, amount spent. That's all that matters. So this is all, good to have. You want to be aware of it. You want to be checking it on a daily basis, but ultimately the decisions that you make, and I'll get onto this later, needs to be based on those 3 metrics I just touched on. So here's a golden rule that we follow. Unless performance is catastrophic, so for example, 0 sales after $300, don't touch the campaign for the first 3 days. Meta's algorithm is smart enough to know when to spend and when not, so you can trust it, and in theory, you should never be able to turn an ad off. You should be able to just leave it and your account should optimize and ad shouldn't get spent. Of course, this isn't the case. We might get there in the future, but for now, try and let Meta learn for as much as possible, let the data come in and then optimize. So a pro tip, some ads that have a high CPA can affect the account positively. Yeah, that's right. So you've probably heard the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, it's actually the same inside your ad account. If an ad is getting tons of engagement, clicks and driving spend, but not quite converting, well, it's acting as a magnet for potential customers. These customers will then be retargeted with your top performing ads and potentially, hopefully, convert. So this is what's known as a top of funnel ad. Of course, we aren't Nike, so all ads are going to be designed to convert. However, we can have ads that get more eyes on the brand and therefore more potential buyers in your world and into your funnel. So for example, this is a street interview that we made. So a really organic and engaging street interview ad. You can see the thumb stop here was 72%. The hook score was 75, 77 and 78. This had a cost per click 1/5 of the average in the account, which means that so many people were engaging in this ad, going onto the landing page, checking out the actual website, potentially buying. However, what's interesting about this is the CPA wasn't the best, so it was pretty much just profitable inside the ad account. The benefit of this is we saw every other ad inside the account improve off the back of this. So this is what we call a top of funnel ad. This is why we didn't turn this off and we actually let it get some spend in the ad account, because we saw all the other ads improve off the back of it. But once the testing days are done, the real work starts, and this is where most brands either scale too early or waste weeks testing the wrong things. So in the next section, I'll show you exactly how we test new creative inside the account with structure, strategy, and a system for finding your next winner. So section 6 is testing framework. This is creative testing to find winners. Now, most brands test like amateurs. They throw new creative into live campaigns, cross their fingers and kill ads after a day or 48 hours. Then they say Meta's broken. But the truth is, if you don't have a system for testing, you'll never find consistent winners and you'll never scale predictably. So I'm going to show you what we do at Media Engineered. This has been used over 100 different accounts. First of all, you want to decide your testing method. And as a creative agency, I mentioned earlier, we get to see into hundreds of brands' different testing methods. So whether it's a CBO testing ad set, ABO testing, or one ad set within a CBO, all have their advantages and disadvantages. You just need to decide which one suits you now, and it really is a matter of testing. So earlier I showed you a client ad account of ours, and they're using one ABO per business objective, so per getting sales for one product. You can see that's working for them. We also have clients using all of these different methods and it's working, even some using dynamic creative testing and it's performing right now. So it's a matter of testing what works for you and then scaling that. So second is isolate variables. Never test multiple changes at once. And this kind of leads on to my third point, which is create an hypothesis. So what are you testing? This alone will improve your learning. So if you actually track down, okay, so this hook worked on this other ad and now I'm going to try it on this top performer, you can actually create some kind of idea of what you're testing, and being aware of this will improve the results in your ad account. Step 4 is launch at least 3 new concepts weekly. If you're trying to scale, this is a minimum. I've seen accounts launch 5 concepts weekly and get up to 100k a month. I've seen ad accounts launch 10 to 15 a month and scale to 100k, 200, 300k a month. So really 3 a week is a minimum if you're really trying to scale. I think that'll work nicely, and you really at this point you want to be testing different sources of creative. So an agency, internal team, just random creators, testing like that, having different sources will improve your results. 5th is track everything, so not just by video or creator, your angles, format, hooks. You really want to track everything clearly in a creative tracker, which I'll show you later. This is going to improve your results. And 6 is let ads run for a minimum 3 to 5 days before making decisions. That's just obvious. You want to get enough data on the ads before you can make a decision. Now use consistent naming conventions inside your ad account so you can track by theme. Now we've started using a naming convention where we have the angle inside, the hook, the creator name, everything pretty much from our creative tracker. So we can pretty much see from a high level view what's working, and we can actually use this naming convention to create up views inside motion analytics, which is really useful for seeing what's working, creating angle leaderboards, and basically judging our ads from a high level view. So I have a couple of tips for you when it comes to creative testing and tracking. So we use this creative tracker, super simple and high level overview of where we're at. We have the ad name, number of variations, format, type, status, product, creator, links to the briefs and the drive, concept, angle, target audience, awareness level. So it's really useful. Also editor, the page that we're running it to, the landing page we're running it to, the date delivered, comments. Really useful for spotting patterns, tracking the status of where your ad is actually at. I find this super useful, but this is more so for a tracking side of things. When it comes to actually analysing the performance side of things, that's when we'll look at things like motion analytics, where we can actually get into the nitty gritty. We can start looking at the angles of the ads, we can start looking at the spend, CPA, and it's mapped straight from the ad account. We like to use both. We use the creative tracker for a high level overview, our strategy side of things to spot patterns on a high level view. Then we also use motion analytics to see the details of ads, watch the ads and analyze performance there on a manual level. Now, if you want access to this, go to mediaengineer.com/ad tracker and you'll be able to get access to this, put in your details and it'll be sent straight to your inbox. Now, the second tip that I have for you is test static ads first in your ad account to get data. So you can see here, these ads we made for a client, and the only thing that we changed is the headline. So we did this to be able to get data to see what kind of resonates with our customer. So we can take these learnings, the way that our copy is written, what we're saying in the ad, to basically learn and create our next ads. So this is a very unique example about a Nokia 3310, but you can actually do this about completely new angles, and this is really good for testing what's working with your customers and what they want to hear. So you can see from these 3 ads, the third one here got 3.2k in spend, and number 2 got $10 spend. So that one change actually has impacted how this has got spend, and the customers obviously prefer this one much more. They must be engaging with this one more, and obviously it's getting 2 ROAS, so people are buying and it's actually converting people as well. So creative testing is one of the most important parts of your entire meta strategy. And there are a few mistakes that nearly every brand makes with this, and I'll break those down in just a minute. But first, you need to learn how to scale without breaking your ads. Section 7 is scaling strategy, so how to scale without breaking your ads. Most brands hit a winner and instantly crank the budget, and the next day CPA doubles, ROAS tanks, and this ad will never recover. That's because scaling isn't about increasing spend or just making one winning ad. It's about creating a system that consistently produces winners. Over the past few years, we've realised at my agency, after working with over 100 meta advertisers, the method of scaling that has generated us the best result is vertically scaling. So the same asset, the same campaign, and once you've been seeing good results and it's consistently above your targets, increasing the budget by 20-30%. But this is very much a case by case basis. If you've got a brand new ad account, you're going to be taking things slow. If you are a seasoned brand and you're spending 10k, 30k a day, you're going to increase the budget by more than a brand that's just starting out. So obviously it's about understanding where you're at, but this is a general rule of thumb. Now in terms of creative scaling, when you find a winner, you need to try and find a way to squeeze as much as you can out of it in terms of results. So refresh the same winning angle with new formats, faces, hooks, voiceovers. So scaling isn't about making a single ad work harder, scale more. It's about making that winning message live longer by stretching it across formats and concepts. So literally get the creator to record it in a different scene, and there you are, you've got a new variation of a winning ad. So that process that I just ran through is exactly how we've helped brands scale from 3k per day to 10k per day without any dramatic budget spikes, just structured creative tests. So this is the structure we'll usually follow. We'll find a winning ad, we'll find a way to recreate it, so new environment, a new style, and then we'll scale that winning angle. So if this works, we've created it in a new way and that ad performs, we know that we've got a winning angle. So we'll scale it further with more formats, more concepts. So this really works. I've seen so many brands find a winning ad and not be able to scale as they haven't followed these steps. They just try and scale one ad and keep adding budget to it without making more ads and building off the back of it quickly. And there's two ways that you can build off the back of it. Edited variation, so make edited variations of the existing ad, and then net new variations, so making new ads with the same angle and the same kind of script, or kind of new variations of that ad but in a net new way. But even great scaling can hit a wall if you don't stay ahead of creative fatigue. And fatigue is sneaky. The CPA won't always just spike overnight. So in the next section, I'll break down the common mistakes that silently kill meta performance and how to spot them and fix them before they drain your budget. Section 8 is common mistakes, so why most campaigns fail and how to fix them. This is super important because meta ads rarely fail because the algorithm is broken. They fail because the creative strategy is poor, there's no system, or the decisions are emotional. And the same mistakes show up again and again. Even in 7-figure ad accounts, you could be running a great product with a solid brand, but if you're making one of these mistakes, you'll tank your performance before you even get a chance to scale or make any money. So what to do to avoid these mistakes, or rather what not to do? These are the most common mistakes we see inside ad accounts that we audit. So choosing traffic instead of sales. So this tells Meta to optimize for clicks, not conversions. Now, not optimizing for purchase, so using view content or add to cart as your conversion goal dilutes your pixel. Killing ads too early, so judging an ad after 24 hours is like reviewing a movie based on the trailer. You need to let it run. Now, over optimizing targeting, so stacking interests, refining audiences too tightly, all of it limits scales and confuses the algorithm. And finally, lack of deep research. Your creatives need thorough research to convert, as your ads need to resonate with your target customer. The only way that you get it is through creative, and your creative will only perform if you research your customers enough. Now, I want to give you a bit of a story because we onboarded a brand doing 150k per month, and they had a single CBO testing campaign optimizing for add to cart. Can you believe it? Not only that, they had effectively no creative strategy, as they were letting UGC creators write their scripts with no direction. Now, don't get me wrong, this can work in some situations. We have tried this, so pretty much sending your product to a creator, letting them record, and giving them free reign to do what they want. However, in this example, they needed to find their winning angles first. So a lot of the time, brands that are doing this have a winning angle, or the angle is obvious and it's like a luxury brand or a jewelry necklace, for example. So it can work, but these guys needed deep research, direct response scripts. They spent 44k in 1 month, and they're pretty much breaking even in terms of their ROAS. So that's kind of where they're at before us. Now, when we onboarded them, we switched to purchase optimization as soon as we got in. We launched new creatives, and around 4 weeks, we've seen 2 ROAS. So based on everything I've just told you about avoiding these mistakes, I want to give you some pro tips, because obviously Remembering all of this can be difficult, but I'm going to give you 3 pro tips. So 1 is always optimize for the end goal, because you don't want people who click, you want people who buy. 2 is carry out deep research on your customers and existing ads before making any new creative. And 3 is slow down your decision making. If you're changing budgets, ads and objectives multiple times per day, you're not testing, you're gambling. But stick with me, because once you understand how to actually track performance, everything else starts to click. In the next section, I'll show you the exact metrics we look at inside $2 million a month ad accounts and how we diagnose winning creative. Section 9 is performance tracking, so what metrics actually matter. So this is from the point of view as a creative agency. So there's 3 types of metrics that I look at. The truth. Now this is ad spend, CPA and ROAS. This is what you need to be making your decisions off. This is all that truly matters, and that's why we call it the truth. Ad spend, CPA, ROAS, these are the high level metrics that matter to your business that are going to be impacting the results of your business. Again, everything that you do needs to be based off these 3 metrics. This is all that truly matters. However, we need to have some deep understanding, because this doesn't tell us the why. And these other metrics here, we've got funnel analysis and soft metrics, tell us the why behind what's happening. Now, I really like this funnel analysis, because these 4 metrics are what actually make up ROAS. So of course, ROAS can go up and down, and it's hard to know what the actual cause of that is sometimes. So that's why we look at these 4 metrics. We have AOV, so how much someone's spending at your site. Click-through rate, so how many people are clicking on your ad once they see it. Conversion rate, how many people are converting once they're on your landing page. And CPM, so how much you're paying for people to see your ad. So these are kind of a high level bottleneck finder from your kind of funnel. So you can track these on a weekly, monthly basis, look at each ad, and you can see what that ad is doing well compared to the average in your account. It gives you clarity into what the bottleneck is, because it's very easy just to blame the ads. Oh, my ads are the problem. ROAS is going down, my ads are the problem. But it might actually be your conversion rate or your average order value. So very interesting to see and spot what the true bottleneck is inside your account. And then we have soft metrics. So these aren't actually impacting your decision making. They aren't truly that important. However, they can help you understand why certain things are happening in your ad account, and it can help you to reverse engineer your winning ads to create more. So I'll just run you through these. We have frequency, so the amount of time that a single individual is seeing your ad. Cost per milli, so how much you're paying per 1,000 views for an ad. Reach, impressions, self-explanatory. Click-through rate, so the percentage of people that are clicking on your ad. Cost per click, so how much you're paying for someone to click on your ad. Hook rate, this is usually from the first 3 seconds, the percentage of people that stay to watch. Hold rate is usually 10, 13 seconds, I believe. So the amount of people that are staying to watch and post shares. Now this is really interesting for a creative analysis standpoint when you're trying to create ads again. So look at these stats in your winning ads, compare it to a losing ad. You'll be able to see what it does better. So it'll probably have, a better hold rate, a better click-through rate, and you've got to try and understand why. But again, sometimes these can be vanity metrics. So you can go for an ad and create an ad that has a high hook rate. Earlier on, I showed you an ad that has 75% hook rate, but it wasn't a top performer. So it's important to realize that these aren't the truth. These are soft metrics, and it can help you to understand why. Again, you want to obviously try and improve and understand your ads and reverse engineer them, and that's where these metrics come into play. Now, in the next section, I'm going to be moving on to daily and weekly tasks for creative strategists, because this is going to really help you to compound results inside your ad account. So make sure you watch this next section. So here we are, daily and weekly tasks for your creative strategists. So whether you're a creative strategist yourself or you have a team of creative strategists, this is what they need to be doing. And you've made it this far, now you know how to structure your ad account, launch properly, test with intention, scale your winners, and avoid the most common pitfalls. But without consistency, none of that matters. And running meta ads isn't just about making one good ad today, it's about routines. And that means knowing what looks good daily, what to review weekly, so your account becomes a data-driven growth engine, not just a guessing game. And trust me, doing these tasks on a daily and weekly basis will compound your results, and you'll start to see better and better results, and your skills as a creative strategist will go through the roof. So this is the exact strategy you should follow as a creative strategist. First, we have daily tasks. So log into your ad account and check performance. It's simple, but a lot of people don't do it. Pause any creative clearly underperforming across all metrics. Now, this might not be your job as a creative strategist, but if it is, obviously you want to be looking at bad ads that are performing, ads that aren't performing, and pause any clearly underperforming angles, and also make a note of it so understand why this isn't working and what angle it was that's underperforming. Now, finally, we have check Magic Brief, Motion, or Meta Ads Library for daily creative inspiration. Now, I love this. As a creative strategist, it should be everything. So even researching potentially on Instagram and TikTok for hooks, even when you're on your social media in your free time, you should be looking at the ads on there and trying to learn from how these are working, what you could potentially take, sending them to your other employees or your colleagues to see what could actually be done for you guys as well. So that's what you need to be doing. You need to be really in the trenches daily, because trust me, if you aren't, the best creative strategists will be, and that's how they're going to get better results than you. Now we have weekly tasks. So you want to be launching 3 to 6 creative concepts weekly. Review creative performance by angle, not just, so look at the angles, all the angles that you've tried, see what are top performing, and group your creatives by angle and try and see if there's any themes in there. Research your customer, so read new reviews, Reddit threads, organic platforms, TikTok comments, find new hooks and objections, because trust me, the deeper you go here, the more leverage that you've got when it comes to writing scripts. You're going to know the customers better, you're going to be able to resonate much more. Review full funnel metrics, so all the metrics that I just showed you earlier, review them. Are your ads doing the heavy lifting? What's the bottleneck? Or is the product page breaking conversions? Plan next week's creative test using real data. Don't guess what to make. So these are just a few notes of what you should be doing as a minimum as a creative strategist, that I believe if you do these, results are going to compound and you're going to get better results week on week. So we do lots of training, but this is just one of the activities that I personally find the most valuable. So we'll share what ads we've made, metrics, competitor ads, and pretty much bounce ideas about what ads we could make. And this is where some of the best ideas come from. So not when you just sat alone in an office. It can be hard to be creative sometimes, although deep work is definitely required. Jumping on these creative roundtables weekly is something that me and the team find super valuable. So I definitely recommend implementing that if you have a creative team. Well, if you follow this setup, you're already ahead of most brands trying to make meta work in 2025. But let's be real, most people will still struggle. They'll second guess their performance, misread data, let fatigue kill their best ads, or worse, never get past testing. And that's exactly why we built Media Engineered, so we can help meta advertisers pinpoint the exact angles, messaging, and hooks that resonate with their audience, and then scale those with proven formats. Now, if you want me and my team to take a look under the hood of your ad account, audit what's working, audit what's not working, and create a custom scaling plan, then book a creative planning call with the link below this video. I'll see you in the next video.